Morning, everyone, and welcome to the Stroke Quality Exchange Call. My name is Michelle, and I'll be your moderator for today. Feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation by typing them into the Q&A box on the right-hand side of your screen. Everyone has been placed on mute, so if you wish to ask a question, please remove the unmute by pressing *6. The slides and links to the presentation will be sent out within 1 to 2 weeks from today's presentation. I will now turn over the presentation to Deb Motes, our Senior Director for Quality. Deb, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Michelle. So this is our second Stroke Quality Exchange call for 2019. For those of you who have not joined before, if there is anybody, the purpose of these is to exchange ideas. The AHA, we will share some information for you, but we really want you to be able to share some of your information as well with your other colleagues here, because that's kind of what it's all about, is trying to improve everybody here. So I will go ahead and get started here. So here's the agenda we're going to talk about today. And please, if anybody has questions, comments, stop me anytime. *6 to unmute and mute your line, and or you can type questions in the Q&A box, and Michelle will let me know if there's questions there and what they are. So the agenda, so the welcome, I really want to give a shout out actually to Michelle, Larissa, and Audrey. Without them, we would not be able to do these calls. Those guys are amazing. They help us get everything set up, and they help me with my illiteracy when it comes to working PowerPoints and those kind of things. So they're very helpful, and we really appreciate all that they do for us. I'm also going to talk about Stroke Month a little bit, and I will talk about Target Stroke Phase 3. That's effective January 1, 2020. So that means it's your data that you're entering now. It'll be data from calendar year 2019. Recognition will happen in next year during the award season. I also am going to talk about some of the PMT updates that are coming soon, talk a little bit about day-to-days and why we do this, and so then I can get into a little more about that. I will go through some of the Southwest Affiliate Stroke performance measures that we have for Q1, talk about a few important dates, share some educational opportunities, and then close with sharing who do you contact if you have questions or need assistance. So first of all, the Stroke Month landing page is available by the end of business day today. May is American Stroke Month, and in 2019, the American Stroke Association is going to focus more on how to reduce stroke, so prevention, secondary prevention, and then also try to raise more awareness of FAST, the warning signs, and knowledge that stroke is preventable and treatable. So that's what a lot of the resources will be available for you. There is this, at the bottom here is the landing page. So if you just type in the www.stroke association, I think you can just Google it with Stroke Month 2019, and it should come up. But there is a link here in this presentation as well. So there'll be lots of materials there for you to be able to use at your discretion. And we may have a few more things available that we will send out in emails as things continue to come across from our National Center. But I think there's some really good things there. Feel free to use them. There's going to be some media things. There'll be some social media things that you can share. There's just going to be a lot of material. So I hope that you guys are able to utilize that information.
Deb, we do have a question. Is the ASA looking at adopting BFAST?
At this point, no. We've discussed it, and actually there was a survey. I think the survey just recently closed, but the survey went out to ask people what they're using. Are they using FAST? Are they using BFAST or whatever? Now, we talked with the National Center about that, and one of the big reasons is because people are not even able to remember FAST at this time. So, before we tried the 5 suddens, and those are really impossible for anybody to remember. And fast, we still don't have, the public is still not recognizing those symptoms. So at this point, we still are focusing on fast, but who's to say? We may end up going with B-fast. I have not heard results from the survey to see what people across the nation are using. So that's kind of what I know about that right now. Any other questions about that? No? Okay. So also May is the National Stroke Awareness Month, and just to let you know, there's going to be a Twitter chat on May 2nd, actually, it says 2018, I'm sure it's 2019, from 1 to 2, and that information will also be available on that website when you go to the stroke, to our AHA Stroke Month page. That information will be there. But there's going to be a lot of social media things for people to join to just help to increase awareness. I think that that's probably the biggest thing, is for people to recognize symptoms and to call 911. We all have had problems with that forever. So next I'm going to go into a little bit about Target Stroke Phase 3, unless there's any questions about Stroke Month information. You can either *6 to unmute or type them in the Q&A box. So Target Stroke, I wanted to just kind of go over the Target Stroke from the Q4, which are actually our totals as far as where we were before. That a little cut off, it appears. But the stroke honor roll for all hospitals, Q1, 2, 3, and 4, for those hospitals, all hospitals, it's about 81%. But I think what we really want to look at here would be the qualifying hospitals. I can't move that over, but there. So, sorry, I got stuff in my way here. I can't see it. Okay, so when you look at the qualifying hospitals, so the stroke honor roll measures, we're really right at 85% and higher for the year. And so, and then also for the IV thrombolytic 45 minutes, we're above 50% across for 2018. So that is kind of showing us that people, they started that Target Stroke in 2010, and I don't know the exact statistics, but hopefully most of you, if not all of you, were able to join that Target Stroke Phase 3 webinar that was presented yesterday. There's some really good slides in there and some good information, and that will be available online as a recording probably in a week or two. We have to transcribe everything, so it takes a little bit to get all of that done. But when you look over, they'll go through like the statistics, but when we started in 2010, people were not, we did not have good under 60 minutes times, the processes, people were beginning to work on them, but they weren't really in place. And then everything started to improve, and then 2015, I believe, 14 or 15, Phase 2 started of Target Stroke, and that was when we broke out the Target Stroke Elite Plus, the Elite, the Honor Roll, and those. And now most people, or a lot of people, are actually meeting those measures. So now it's time to just take it to the next level. So the Target Stroke Phase 3, the aim of it is to facilitate and to incentivize hospitals and stroke systems of care to provide the IV thrombolytic and endovascular therapy to eligible patients with acute stroke in a timely fashion. Now, we know that the new measures that are going to be on here are going to be difficult to, may be difficult to attain, although there are some hospitals that are already attaining it. But, however, we don't expect a lot of them next year to have like the Elite Plus or any of that. But there again, it seems like every time we put out these challenges and put out some resources available, then you guys put those into action and do some process improvement, and it doesn't seem to take long, a year or so, and you're starting to meet all of those measures if you were not initially able to. So the primary goal is we want to achieve door-to-needle times within 60 minutes at 85% or more of acute stroke patients that are treated with IV alteplase. Previously, it was 50% and then 75%, and now we're pushing it to the 85% level. And then the other thing is we want to make sure that we are able to recognize those that are doing thrombectomy. So achieving a door-to-device time, which actually will be the arrival to first pass of thrombectomy device. So that's what the timing is. They want that done in 50% or more of eligible patients within 90 minutes for those patients that directly arrive to your hospital, and within 60 minutes for patients that transfer in and that are treated with endovascular therapy. And the reason the difference is a lot of patients when they enter the hospital, there's a lot more to do initially with all the scans and the IV TPA, eligibility, and all of that information, whereas a lot of patients that transfer in may have already had the IV TPA, and they can take them directly to the lab. So we will be monitoring those times. And then the secondary goal is to achieve the door-to-needle times within 45 minutes in at least 75% or more of acute stroke patients, and then to achieve door-to-needle times within 30 minutes in 50% or more of acute stroke patients. And I'll tell you a little bit more about this. So here's the actual criteria for it. So hospitals can be recognized, first of all, just so you know that hospitals can be awarded both the IV thrombolytic-based honor roll and advanced therapy honor roll independently. So those will be treated as independent measures, the target stroke versus the endovascular part of it. As you can see in target stroke phase 2, we were looking for time to TPA within 60 minutes, 50% of the time, and that has now been raised to 75% of the time for the honor roll level. The real goal that we're trying to hit will be the door-to-needle times within 60 minutes, at least 85% for applicable patients. Previously, it was 60 minutes at 75% for the acute stroke. And then the Honor Roll Elite Plus is going to really push it to, is really going to make the push, and that is time to thrombolytic therapy. The old one was therapy within 60 minutes, 75% of the time, and within 50%, 45 minutes. And now that is going to 45 minutes, at least 75% of the time, and 30 minutes, 50% of the time. So, it's really going to push the processes, but with the process improvements and using a checklist and using the information that will be available to you, it will be achievable if it's not already. Like I said, several hospitals probably are already at that level. And then, again, the Honor Roll Advanced Therapy, which is at least 50% applicable patients within 90 minutes for door-to-device and within 60 minutes for transfers. Keep making mine bigger, sorry. Okay, so recognition eligibility, we must currently hold a gold, silver, or bronze performance achievement status with Get With a Guideline Stroke, so that is the first requirement. A minimum meet the goal of door-to-needle times as specified for each award in the applicable patients, and there has to be a minimum of 6 patients in the measure in order to qualify for target stroke honor roll at any level. For at least 1 calendar quarter initially for the initial honor roll, and actually 6 patients for the year for the renewals, the consecutive renewals. Then the honor roll advanced therapy requires door-to-device times and applicable patients, again, a minimum of 6 patients to qualify, so that the direct arriving patients or transfer patients, there has to be at least 6 or more, and those measures are being worked on. And then either the time to IV therapy, 60 minutes, or door to IV TPA in 60 minutes, a historical quality measure may be used to qualify for that as well. So what we have found this past year, I think it's come more to light this past year than ever before, but it seems that some of the measures, when you look at it, it says that we have to have a minimum of 6 measures. Well, when we ran the door to TPA time, some of those were excluded, as they should have been, but then that knocks the denominator down to below our the required 6 patients. There has to be 6 patients in the denominator. So we also are able to look at that, or to run that historical measure, where we can look at the total TPA patients, no matter if there's an exclusion or not. It gives how many times you gave TPA, and then using that percentage of criteria approval, then you can meet the measures that way. So say, for example, you have 4 patients in the door to TPA in the 60 minutes. You have 4 patients in the denominator, and you have 4 of 4, which is 100%, but you don't have enough in your denominator. So if you go and look at historical measures and say the patient was given TPA 8 times, not the patient, I'm sorry, the hospital had given the TPA at least, and we gave it at 8 times. So when we run that historical report, then the report will be 4 of 8, which will be 50%, which then would make them an honor roll eligibility. So just so you know, there are a few other things, but we also do look at the old measure, the historic measure, when we did not exclude patients that were that should have been legitimately excluded. So I don't know if that's making sense. Does anybody have any questions about what I just said?
We do have a couple of questions, Deb. The first one is, what evidence-based research was used to determine the 90-minute door-to-device time for direct arriving patients?
I don't know. I can't tell you that for sure. They may have covered that yesterday in the Target Stroke Phase 3 on the webinar. I wasn't able to get on it in the initial. I missed the first 15 minutes, so I'm not sure if they talked about that or not. Allison, do you happen to be on? Do you have any thoughts on that? Okay, she may not be on. So I don't know for sure, but I can definitely look for that information, and then if I can find some stuff, I will include it when we send out the slides.
Perfect. The second question is, will there be exclusion criteria for delay in door-to-device time? For example, if rapid improvement of the patient with worsening symptoms?
There again, I haven't seen the measures myself yet to see what's going to be included and excluded. Those are going to be, according to the WebEx yesterday, the new updates. I'm going to go through some of those on the PMT, which may tell me this, but the updates are slated to be released on May 8th. That's not a promise date, but that's the goal at this point. So, and I'm going to go through some of those so that you can see what that's about as well. But the hospitals, so again, they can be awarded for the IV thrombolytic-based honor roll and the advanced therapy independently. I know that didn't answer your question, but it's the best I have right now. Any other questions I may or may not be able to answer?
That's all I have for right now, Deb. Actually, sorry. Nope, no questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so going on to the next slide here. Oops, okay. So the PMT updates that are coming soon, and again, the goal is May 8th, but that's a goal. So a summary of what will be released was presented yesterday during the conference. So one of them is the Target Stroke 3 update, So the stroke limited form, there'll be a reason for IV TPA delay in the 30-minute window. That's going to be in addition to the limited form for stroke, as well as all the other forms, the advanced forms. The MER form, we added the documentation of first pass data element, and I'll show you more about that in a couple slides here. And then just the update on the new measures. So the door in, door out times and all of that should be released on May 8th so that you'll be able to run those reports. And I'll show you some screenshots of what some preview, I guess, of what that should look like. There's additional measure updates for the door in, door out measures. Then the Joint Commission layer updates, there'll be the STK outpatient 1, which is the door in, door out time. And then the CSTK 1, which is the NIH stroke scale reported prior to any treatment. That will be also a part of the CSTK measure set, and it's added to the CSTK layer. The acute stroke inpatient and outpatient measures are now going to be available for you to run as a bundle. Previously, you had to run those independently. The measures were there, but you had to run each one individually. And now there's going to be the bundles, just like we have for the performance achievement and the target stroke set and the plus set. And then there's some operational updates. They're removing the errors. So when you were completing the advanced imaging questions, sometimes you were getting errors for things that you really didn't need to record. So that will be fixed. And then the CSTK benchmarking error. So when people were running the benchmark report, they were seeing 0 for the benchmark. So it was showing what your hospital did, but compared it to 0. So that is fixed as well, or will be fixed. There's going to be a few new filter options. And again, if you watch that webinar, if you were not able to attend it, those are shared as well, and then a few additional items. So all these things are coming soon, hopefully on the 8th. All right. So this kind of shows, this is one of the previews examples. So on the MER form, we said that we were adding the documentation of first pass, the data element. So this is how it will look here, is the documentation of first pass to remove the clot of the cerebral artery, yes or no, and then the date and time. So if there was mechanical endovascular reperfusion procedure attempted during the episode of care, you would hit yes. And the reason that is added to the MER layer, it is already part of the comprehensive layer, but it will be used for that target stroke advanced therapy measure for recognizing target stroke. So that is why that question or that data field is being added in there. Another preview is the updated target stroke measure set. So here it's showing you the target stroke measure set, and they added the door in, door out times at first hospital prior to transfer for acute therapy, time to IV thrombolytic therapy in 30 minutes, the door to start revascularization within 60 minutes for patients transferred, and then the new reporting measures will be listed here, so you can run them independently. So there's new reporting measures here, the door in, door out where you can run it, and the time to IV therapy for 30 minutes. So, and I'm sure that there's going to be more information and more instructions sent out once these are all available and rolled out. And then also for the stroke measure, the target stroke, oops, did I do that? Maybe I didn't move the slide, sorry. Okay, another added measure is door to start of revascularization. And that, there again, it's going to, the measure will be under the enhanced special initiative measure set here. just like the STK measures and the MER measure set and all of those others, that's where you will be able to run that report. And it will run within 60 minutes for patients transferred, and then within 90 minutes, and there'll be 2 distinct reports that will come up for you there. So this is just kind of an example of what that's going to look like for you once that is operational for everybody. Again, if there's questions along the way, stop me anytime. Type them in or *6. Another measure preview, door in, door out time at first hospital prior to transfer for acute therapy. So this is what that's going to look like. The report, again, will be part of the target stroke measure. No, not the target stroke, I'm sorry, reporting, part of the reporting. There'll be door in, door out times at first hospital prior to acute therapy. And those measures, this is how the measures will look once that measure is run. So those are just some examples of what you will be able to run, just some regular examples. And then we also have the Joint Commission layer revisions preview that I'll show you here. I had mentioned the acute stroke ready hospitals, inpatient and outpatient. You had to run those separately before each individual measure, and now you can run the measure set here. So that will be available for you as well. And then they added the acute stroke ready measure description document to your to the explanation field. This will be the added STK OP1 report to the STK layer. So this is the door in, door out. So as you know, probably, there are several different measures that they're looking at. So there's going to be the door to TPA measure, or door in, door out. So there's going to be some that are like hemorrhagic stroke. It will be door in, door out for those who have received TPA and are transferred. There'll be those that are just being transferred for endovascular. So there's 6 different measures here that will be you will be able to run. So it's the STK measure. It's under the TJC CMS measures, and that's in the enhanced version or special. So you'll have your Get with the Guidelines, your regular measures you had before, and then if you go to the enhanced version where the STK ones measures are, or the comprehensive or the MER layers where you can run those reports, that's where this will be located as well. And so you'll receive a report for each one of those measures as well, and it will be just like this. So they'll put it into the appropriate measure. You'll have your measure set here. You'll be able to, again, filter those and dive into them to do the deep dive into your patient to see if there was something missed that you could have charted or whatever. So those will be coming, again, hopefully on May 8th. And then we have the comprehensive, the CSTK-01 report to the STK layer. So that is under comprehensive stroke. It will be added to the STK layer again, and then it's available in the Get with the Guidelines enhanced version and special measures dropdown, but it also will be added to the STK measure set. So when you ran your STK measure set before, it included all the measures. That measure will be included in there as well.
Deb, we do have a couple questions.
Okay.
The first question is, will the distance to transfer hospitals be considered in the DITO measure?
Will the what? I'm sorry.
Would the distance to the transfer hospital be considered in the DITO measure?
The door in, door out? So it's the transferring, yes. Are you asking me about the transferring patient?
The distance to the transfer hospital be considered.
Oh, I'm sorry. Will that be a consideration? Is that what you're asking me?
Yes.
I don't know how they could possibly know that. I don't know, but I don't think that that's going to be something that, I mean, when they run the measure, it's just going to have to be the data time or the regular times, I think, because I don't know how they could possibly do that. Is there another question?
Nope, that's all at the time.
Okay. I don't have a lot of answers yet because I haven't seen it myself, but just kind of giving you a preview of what it will look like. And again, I'm sure that we're going to get more information from our National Center as well as IQVIA to show us how to run these measures and exactly what they include, like we have in all the other coding instructions. So that's what I have for PMT updates that are coming. Those are just a few of the previews slides, and so there's a few more, and then the Target Stroke Phase 3. So any further questions about those two topics at this time? And *6 to unmute or type it in. Okay, so moving on, I talk a little bit about why do we do data days in the Southwest affiliate. Well, first of all, we are the only affiliate that actually provides this information to all of their hospitals. So you hear us or you've seen us recently. Recently you should have received an email that has some information about that. And let me click on this next one to give you a little idea. So the data date, so that's measures and why. So we send you a detailed email with each measure highlighted in red or green to indicate failing or passing status. And then we also include a list of the patient fallouts for you. And so what we're hoping to do is, first of all, try to save you some time so that you're not having to look at this all the time as well. We can send this stuff quarterly. I mean, it's great for you to follow it, but we will be sending out these reports quarterly. And the other thing is because we really, as the Southwest Affiliate Quality Directors and our Quality and Systems Improvement Directors, really want to help you to be able to achieve these measures. So if there's something that we can do, whether it's discussing different process improvements with you or just finding maybe some reasons. For example, a lot of times we see with the IVPPA arrive by 2 hours and treat by 3 hour measure, a lot of times there's fallouts in there just strictly because somebody did not hit the show all and then entered the correct exclusion as to why the patient was not treated within that time frame. And then that excludes the patient. But occasionally people miss that show all because you do have to hit that to open up that box. So, it's things like that we look for and try to help you so that you can fix those things in an effort so that you can be rewarded for the great evidence-based care that you're giving. The other thing to remember on these reports, they're static reports so that we can't rerun them. I'll show you an example on the next slide of what they actually look like. Oops, keep hitting the bigger and little. Okay, so this is what you should have received along with that email, previous email. You should have received a report. It's one long page. I had to break it up a little bit. But it shows you, it's just a quick look, your stroke achievement for Q1, and this is an aggregate report. No, actually, this isn't an aggregate. This is just a sample report. So it shows you each of the measures. If there's fallout, then there's a red X down here. And as long as they are all achieved, then at 85% or higher, which is the first thing that has to be done in order to receive any of the Get With the Guidelines awards, then we look at the Quality Plus measures, and actually the achievement measures are the only ones that we send you your fallouts for, because you have to have 85% and higher in this measure set before you can move on to any of the others. So the next one is the quality measures. These are the measures: the dysphagia, strain, stroke education, rehab considered, et cetera. And you have to have at least five of these measures at 75% or higher. So there again, we show you those, show you what's falling out. And if you need help drilling down into who those specific patients are, we certainly are available to help you with that. And then we have our Target Stroke Honor Roll, and, because, again, we don't have all of our measures ready to go yet, but they will be very soon. So we were just able to show you at 85% and 75% where you would fall as of quarter one on your report. And then coming soon, so our next reports will have these other measures as well, the 45 minutes and the 30-minute achievement measures, and then also the advanced stroke measure. They should be available on our next data days, which will be next quarter. So for this last one, for the Southwest affiliate, so here we aggregate all of our hospitals. At this point, there are 200, well, this is actually as of April 1st because it's the static report, and that's when we received that from IQVIA. And so at that time, there were 200 hospitals out of 279 who had entered at least some data. And we know that you're not going to have all of your data done in the first quarter, but it still gives you an idea and a snapshot of where you're going. And then as we go along, we'll add quarter two and then also the aggregate, because if you remember, the reports are all aggregate. So it's the whole year you're looking at, unless you're going for bronze, and then it's the 3 months. But it's the total aggregate patients, not quarter by quarter, except for bronze. So this shows, at this point, it's showing us that 63 hospitals are at achievement measure for quarter one. 150 have reached plus measures, but they have to achieve this one first. And then for Target Stroke Elite Plus, we have 33 hospitals who are meeting the measure during quarter one, 8 with a Target Stroke Elite, and 4 at honor roll level. So, again, it's a snapshot of how we're doing as an affiliate. And the 6 states are, hopefully I'll get it right, Colorado, Arkansas, New Mexico, Wyoming, Texas, and there's one more, let's see.
I think you got all 6, Deb. Arkansas would have been the last one.
Did I? Oh, cool. Okay, Oklahoma, if I didn't say that. All right, cool. So that's where we were with those. So then we look at our quarter one achievement measures, our actual. So that was just a sample, the one before that. This is now our aggregate. And so what I did was I kind of looked to compare to see where we were last year at this time on the achievement measures. And so our year-end aggregate number for Arrive by 2, Treat by 3 for quarter 4 of last year, or the aggregate, I'm sorry, it was the aggregate, the total year, we were at 86%. And for quarter 1, again, hitting 85%, so very close. Early antithrombotic during quarter 1 here was 91%. Aggregate for 2018 was 96%. So pretty close again, and again, I know all the patients aren't in there. VTE prophylaxis at 92% for quarter 1, and year-end 2018 was 96%. So these are all very, very close. Antithrombotics, we are at 98% for 2018, and now at 94%. AFib, A-flutter, so anticoagulation for AFib, A-flutter at 95% for quarter 1, and for last year we were at 95%. So again, very close. Smoking cessation, 97% versus 98% for the year-end last year. And the statin measure, year-end we were at 96%, and now we're at 92%. So again, very, very close during quarter 1. So it's just showing us that everybody's using their evidence-based medicine practices, using processes, and able to achieve these measures. The plus measures for 2018, dysphagia screen was 84%, and quarter 1 we're at 80%. And that's probably one of the tougher ones that we have that we're able to meet, but it's still above the 75% requirement in order to achieve the plus measure for that measure. Stroke education, 91% for quarter 1, and for year end it was 94%. For rehab, we're at 95%, and for rehab considered for 2018, we were at 98%. For LDL documented, we were at 93% in 2018, and now quarter one, we're at 91%. So again, very close. Intensive statin, the year end, we ended at 71%. So that's the only one I'm seeing actually for as an aggregate that did not make the 75 percentile for 2018. And for quarter one, we're at 69%. So pretty close again. IV arrived by 3, IV alteplase arrived by 3.5, treat by 4.5. Year end, we were at 82%, and now we're at 84%. So you're already improving that one. And then the NIH stroke scale reported quarter one was 91%, and we're at 92%. So again, it's just showing the great work that you all are doing with these things, with these measures. Questions, comments? Okay. So moving on then, target stroke honor roll. All hospitals, 79% for 60 minutes and 51% for 45 minutes. And then for our qualifying hospitals, it's 83% at 60 minutes and 45 minutes, 55%. And we don't have the 30-minute measure available yet, but it will be available soon. So it's showing you here that at the elite level right now, we have about 8 hospitals, and we have about 4 at honor roll, 16 no award, but that's not surprising since a lot of people don't even have all their information in there yet. But again, it's a snapshot of where you were on April 1st. All right. So the Get With The Guidelines are 2019 award projections. About 54% of our target stroke, 54% of our hospitals, at least for the Southwest affiliate, will be at the target stroke level, and 30% of those are at the Elite Plus. And then we have the Gold Plus, 144. So a good portion of our hospitals will be receiving awards again this year. And our directors, again, are available. That's why we do these quarterly reports. We want to help you to be recognized and for the work that you're doing and to reach those achievement levels. Any questions before I move on from there? Achievement, target stroke, anything there? Okay, important dates. So in May, we will be finishing up our recognition awards. They're being approved by our national center at this point. And towards the end of May, we typically are able to distribute those. Maybe early June, but typically it's the end of May that we'll have everything ready. There's ad toolkits that will be available, will be sent out with your awards. And, you know, it's important. hopefully that you are using those toolkits and that you're promoting your awards. You know, there's all kinds of ways to promote it. Some of them, you know, I've seen them posters or vinyl, huge posters that are 3 stories high on hospitals, that are posted on hospitals or, you know, on their websites or, you know, wherever. Anybody want to share how they use your recognition awards? What do you do for that? Do you do anything special? I think a lot of people do different things. Another thing to be aware of is that our directors are available if you're going to have some kind of a recognition ceremony or whatever, and you want your director from quality from the American Heart Association to attend and present and help you promote your award, we are available to do that. So all you need to do is once you get your award, contact your AHA director. You will have to work with their schedules, which can be pretty tight sometimes, but definitely we will be there to help you out with that. The next important date is the International Stroke Conference for 2020. It will be held in LA in February 18th will be the Nursing Symposium, and then February 19th to the 21st will be the session. So abstract submission opens up May 22nd, coming up during Stroke Month, and then closes on August 13th, 2019. So again, you know, really consider some of the process improvements you've done, and especially now that you're going to be setting up all these new processes and really monitoring, trying to get to that 30-minute, you know, anything like that you're doing, then put that into a poster and share that with your colleagues. There's a lot of really good information you can get out of your Get with the Guidelines just by running some reports, you know, on how trending over time. What did you do to improve, and what did it end up showing? So if you have questions or need some assistance or want to send an abstract but don't know what to do, again, contact your director, your quality director. That's what we're here for, is to help you with all of those. And I did put the link there to the session so that you can see to the International Stroke Conference information. And in that link, if you scroll down to the bottom, then it shows you the you can click on the 2019 abstracts that were submitted so that you can look through those for some ideas on what you could do. So there's a lot of resources available for you there, so use them. And if you're interested, again, let us know. We're happy to help you. And then in July, usually the end of July, because it's the August publication, but the U.S. World and News reports will be published, including all the gold and silver recognized hospitals. So that's actually for all of our modules. And it's, hopefully you all know that we do these exchanges for each of the modules. This morning we had heart failure, a heart failure module exchange. Now we have our stroke one. Tomorrow morning we will have resuscitation at 8 o'clock Central Time. And then at noon we'll have an AFib exchange. And then the next morning at 8 o'clock Central Time, we'll have a CAD exchange. So if you're interested in any of those, anybody can join those. So please share it with your cardiac friends and your resuscitation friends and your heart failure friends, and let them know that these exchanges are going on, and hopefully can glean some information from those. So professional education and resources next, and there are so many things. It's incredible. There's so many things that are available. So just kind of keeping an eye out. First of all, on the webinar, there was a highlight of something that I have not seen yet, and I could not find it on our website, but I'm sure it will be there very soon with the start of our Target Stroke 3, Phase 3. But it actually was a door-to-device time key best practice strategies, and there were 12 strategies that looked really very useful. So be on the watch out for that. Just like we had before with our Target Stroke 2, we had the IV alteplase best practices, and I think there were 12 of those as well. There now is one for door-to-device. So be on the lookout for that. And let's see, available, we have a bedside quality, stroke quality improvement webinar that will be coming up. That will be delivered by our National Stroke Committee, our Southwest affiliate. We have a stroke committee that meets quarterly, that includes physicians and nurses and several others from each of our affiliate, or from each of the states, and we come together to try to figure out what we can do to help improve stroke and what kind of information that our hospitals may be interested in. So there have been several already, and they will be on that www.heart.org/Southwest Affiliate Quality. There will be links to all of the previous WebExes as well, so that you can go in and look at those if you are unable to join during that time. Another thing you can find there, currently we have the Cardiac Bootcamp series going on. So there are several series of that. It started a couple weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. But again, if you're interested, go to that website, and that will give you instructions on how to sign up for that. So we also include the module exchange recording. So we've had some module, so like your January one, This one will be, the exchange today will be added to the recording in a couple weeks, but there's a lot of different information that you can go in and take a look at if you were not able to attend when it was a live presentation. We do still have the Stroke Bootcamp webinar series, and if you want it for CE credit, then you go to the AHAASA Lifelong Learning website, which I put the link there to, and you can sign up for any one or all 16 of them, 15 or whatever there was, 14 maybe, but all of them, and you can earn your CE credit just depending for each hour that you watch. Each session is an hour session CE. So if you're interested and you missed the series last year, then feel free to go in, or if you're a new coordinator, I think there's some really helpful information in there that you might find useful. And then we also have the Stroke Association. If you go into the American Stroke Association and to the professional websites with the link is there, then there are additional WebExes and additional educational information. There's all kinds of resources for your hospitals. There's resources for your patients, for caregivers. So check that site out frequently because they're always adding new cool stuff. And, oops, get it in. And also the Joint Commission. There's all kinds of webinars that the Joint Commission also has available. And if you go to the Joint Commission website, you don't have to be a member of anything. Anybody can go to the Joint Commission website, and if you go to the disease-specific care page, and at the bottom here, it has 2018 certification webinar replays and 2019 certification. So you can go in there and look at all different kinds, and it's not just stroke. This includes all of their modules and information. But if you're looking for education, there's a lot of places that you can go to get that. And we all know that needing that 8 hours of education is not the easiest thing to do, especially to be able to provide new information to our staff. So there are lots of resources available, and these are just a few. And last but not least, who do you contact? So what if you have a question or you need help with an abstract, or you want to work on some kind of a process improvement, or you just need to chat about a question? Who do you contact? So this slide shows you the QSI directors for the Southwest affiliate along with their email addresses. So we have Arkansas, we have Kristen Waller, Oklahoma, Alicia Webster, North Colorado and Wyoming is Emily Jones, South Colorado and New Mexico is Flannery O'Neill, and then we have Allison Capetillo for our, these are all of the Texas ones, and almost everybody fits into Texas somewhere. So the list is there according to where or who you would contact. Christy's in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Larissa is around the, Sarah's around the Austin area, and then Larissa is around College Station and Bryan County, and then Corpus Christi, and so, and et cetera. You can see them there. But if you need to contact somebody, that's a good way to do it, as well as we have the senior and vice president level who have the specialties that can help you as well, and that is Lonnie Den, who oversees the coronary artery disease and Mission Lifeline module. We have Cherie Boxberger, who oversees heart failure and resuscitation, and then there's me, who does the stroke and AFib. So feel free to contact us anytime. That's what we're here for. And I guess that leaves us with, is there any questions or comments or concerns that you would like to discuss? *6 to mute or unmute, or type in the question and answer box. Do you have anybody now in there? Michelle, any questions?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, yes.
Okay. My name is Donna Biscamp, and I am from the Medical Center of Southeast Texas. And I'm listening to the times and the percentages on the transfers, since pretty much what we do here is drip and ship. I'm interested very much in the transfer time. So can you please clarify for me? From here, from the transfer time begins door in, door out?
Correct.
For the 60 minutes, is that from arrival at their facility or door out from my facility?
So the 60 minutes would be from the time they leave your facility to the time that they actually start the procedure.
Okay.
So that would be for if you're transferring it, then the goal is 60 minutes for them, for door to device. But the door in, door out time, I don't know that there's actually I don't know that there's actually time suggested at this point. I think since this is such a new measure, at this point we're collecting data, trying to figure out, what would be reasonable for door in, door out. And especially, when you look at the different areas, such as the large metro areas where you can't because of traffic, or the smaller rural areas where it's really hard to get the patients transferred from one to the other because of the distance. So I don't know that there's actual target times for those. The target times are actually for the people who are doing the thrombectomies. So the MER layer or the comprehensive stroke centers, it would be that from the time the door that the patient leaves the door of the patient or of your hospital to the time that it would get to the hospital you're transferring to, and for them to get them into the lab and actually start the procedure.
Does it make any difference? Is there any consideration as to whether the CTA is done at the transferring facility or at the receiving facility?
So yes. So that's why they're saying if the patient arrives at your hospital, then you may be doing, so say you're going to transfer it. So you may give TPA and you may do some additional imaging. So that's why they have they have 90 minutes. If the patient arrives at their own hospital where they're going to do the procedure, then they have to do all of those things. They have to do the CT and they have to do the initial assessment and get the TPA if they get TPA, and then get it ready for endovascular. Whereas a lot of patients that are transferred from a transferring facility may have some of that imaging already done. And so that's why the transfer, if you're transferring, it's actually a 60-minute goal for door to device, because a lot of that imaging may be completed already. Does that make sense?
Thank you so very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yes, Deb. Just a clarification. The 8 hours of education you mentioned, is that for stroke coordinators or for stroke registry people?
Those are for stroke coordinators. So the stroke coordinator needs 8 hours, and also for comprehensive stroke centers, all of the nurses that take care of patients, whether they're in the ER, the ICU, the stroke unit, they all have to have 8 hours of stroke education if they're certified for comprehensive. So there's different levels of people. But if you're a stroke coordinator, then for sure, or whoever you designate as your stroke team, which typically would be maybe a medical director, a stroke coordinator, and maybe an ER quality director or whatever. Those people who you identify as your acute stroke team are the ones that have to have the 8 hours of stroke education, specifically stroke education, for certification. I hope that answered the question. Are there any others?
That's all I have, Deb.
All right. No? Okay. We have 1 minute to spare, so you get 1 minute back. But thank you for all who joined, and for those of you who actually participated and asked questions. We really appreciate that. And we will see you again next quarter. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining. The slides will be sent out to you within 1 to 2 weeks of this presentation.
If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Deb or Allison. Their emails are located on the slide you see right now. Have a wonderful day.